enough. Final warning.
I could do this all day.
Yes, I guess you could say I've been putting off doing a Captain America Civil War review, but I have a good reason. Other than the fact that I knew that I liked it, I really had no other feelings towards it upon walking out of that first screening. And that really surprised and disappointed me and saddened me because, everything I had heard up until that point about the movie was it's the greatest comic book movie ever. Is it better than The Avengers? Is it better than The Dark Knight? Is it better than Winter Soldier? All those movies which I love, and I loved upon my first viewings of them. And walking out of Civil War, I felt a little mundane, to be quite honest. So I knew something had to be up because, there was I knew that there was a lot of good things in the movie, but for some reason I couldn't just wrap my head around what I liked, what I disliked. I don't know if it was because it was late. I don't know if there was too many other things on my mind at the time. All I knew was I shouldn't do a review after that first viewing because it wouldn't do the film justice, because I knew my opinion would change probably pretty drastically upon my second, third, fourth, fifth viewing. So yesterday on Monday, I went and saw it again by myself this time, and I'm really glad I didn't do my review after that first screening because I saw it by myself and I loved it. It's awesome. I don't know what was going on with me on Friday night, but for whatever reason, I felt underwhelmed. And as soon as I walked out on Monday night or Monday after that screening, and even as I was watching it, I was like, this is special, man. This is taking the Marvel Universe to places it hasn't gone yet. The character development is superb. There's some awesome action. There's great character moments, epic moments. There's scenes that look like they're ripped straight off the comic book page. Overall, it's fair. I hate using this word, but I think it fits. It's epic. It's really epic. This movie, directed by Joe and Anthony Russo, who of course did The Winter Soldier, which I think as of a week ago, I think it was my second or third favorite Marvel movie. Up until that movie, I thought Captain America was a little pussy, a little bitch, because he was awesome in the first Avenger, really kicked ass. But then in the first Avengers, easily the weakest character, and it didn't help that his suit looked really dumb. He looked like a poor cosplayer at that, and got his ass kicked by, Loki, then Iron Man, then a bunch of the Chitauri. It's easily his weakest film. And I came out of the Avengers really not a fan of Captain America. Not that I didn't like him, but when compared to the other three Avengers, I thought he was easily the weakest link, both in power and just as a character. But holy shit, all that changed with The Winter Soldier, directed by these two guys who directed Civil War. They brought the scale down a little bit. Obviously, there was a lot at stake, but a lot more personal too. You hit the whole Cap Bucky dynamic. Black Widow's in there. Not a lot of superpowers, just some really enhanced individuals. Some great hand-to-hand combat scenes. A great story. A pretty decent villain by Marvel standards in Robert Redford and the Winter Soldier. Really changed my views on Captain America. He was a badass, even from that opening scene. On the freighter that they're taking over, he's just kicking dudes like 20 feet over the edge of the ship. Just they really did a great job of reestablishing him as a badass and a leader and as a character. Another character who I wasn't overly fond of, but I had no problems with, was Falcon. And the whole time leading up till Civil War, I was joking, what the hell is Falcon gonna do? All he does is fly, right? He has some guns. But I mean, let's just start the positives off right there. Not saying this isn't my biggest positive, but since we're on the topic of Falcon, I thought they really did a good job furthering that relationship between Sam and Steve. They touch upon it a little bit in Avengers Age of Ultron. They have that little short scene together, but they did a lot of upgrades to his suit, to his abilities. Like I said earlier, I didn't know how he could bring much to Team Cap, but let's just say in the movie, he brings a lot to Team Cap. So my biggest positive in this film has to be that Captain America, Tony Stark dynamic. It was, I think, over almost 2 years ago that the big story was dropped that Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man, was going to be in Captain America 3. Now, this is before we knew it was going to be Civil War, And before we knew it was going to have, Black Panther, Spider-Man, Scarlet Witch, Vision, Hawkeye, all those people. Upon finding out that it was going to be Civil War and it was going to be Cap versus Iron Man, got me really excited. And they deliver. They deliver on that promise of the dispute between Steve Rogers, Tony Stark. You really are able to understand why these two guys feel the way that they do and why they feel differently from each other. Tony Stark has gone through some things in his life as an Avenger, as Iron Man, that make him feel the way that he feels. Likewise, Captain America has gone through a bunch of things in his life, both before and after being on ice, that makes him feel the way he does. And the directors do a fantastic job of establishing that in this film, building upon what's happened in the films prior, and making us believe that there's this conflict, this ideological conflict. Some of the greatest scenes in this film are just little talks between Tony Stark and Steve Rogers discussing their philosophical differences on this one issue. This issue of, basically, they touch upon in the trailer, so this isn't a spoiler. The main issue is, do the Avengers need oversight? Obviously, Iron Man takes the side that we should. Captain America, on the contrary, takes the side that they shouldn't. And they really make you believe why they feel that way. This movie doesn't work if they can't establish the dispute, the problems between Iron Man and Captain America. That's the crux of the story. Another big positive has to be the introduction of T'Challa, also known as the Black Panther, played by Chadwick Boseman, of course. Going into this movie, I really didn't know much about the Black Panther character. I knew he was from Wakanda, had a shitload of vibranium, very rich, black, really strong, really fast. I mean, you see that shot in I think it's the first trailer. He's just running like really super fast down that street, chasing who now knows chasing Winter Soldier, and then Cap's chasing him. Pretty cool scene. And when they announced Chadwick Boseman was playing him, I thought, a safe choice. He's played Jackie Robinson before. He's played James Brown, and now he's going to play T'Challa, the Black Panther. So a lot of us started thinking, since they have Spider-Man now, are they going to scale back Black Panther's role, make Spider-Man more of a prominent character? And I think what actually ended up happening was Black Panther's role got increased, and they still put Spider-Man in there. From the moment you meet Black Panther, he has a presence. He's very cool. His accent is spot on. He's a badass. Once he puts that suit on, he can go toe-to-toe with pretty much anyone in the Marvel Universe, in the established Marvel Universe so far. Definitely Cap, Bucky, Iron Man, Hawkeye, Ant-Man. He can go toe-to-toe with any of those guys. Super fast, has that awesome suit made of vibranium, has the vibranium claws, scratches Cap's shield. Some of the best action scenes in this film are with Black Panther. Obviously, that scene we see in, I think, both of the trailers, him chasing Bucky, chased by Captain America, a great sequence, very cool, very well directed, just really great. Okay, I never thought I'd say this so soon after seeing The Amazing Spider-Man 2 and what a shit show that was. Never thought I'd say this, but I'm looking forward to the next Spider-Man movie. And this guy that they got to play Spider-Man, Peter Parker, Tom Holland, he killed it, man. I don't know if it's just him or it has a lot to do with the directors, the Russo brothers, or Kevin Feige or Mickey Mouse. I don't know what the fuck they did, but damn it, I'm excited for another Spider-Man movie. And I never thought I'd say that after seeing The Amazing Spider-Man 2, because I hated that so much. But Spider-Man's awesome in this movie. The way they introduce him, how they convince him to get into this fight. This is no spoiler. If you think this is a spoiler, come on. But he's in 2 scenes in the movie, and he steals them. You understand they don't spend too much time on the origin. Actually, don't spend any time on it at all. And you understand why he chooses the side he chooses. And he's a kid fighting amongst these gods and holds his own. Has some really standout scenes, and just really, really does a great job at setting up this Spider-Man for his future movies and for being a well-established presence in the Marvel Universe going forward. Continuing with positives, got to talk about some of the other supporting Avengers cast, I guess. Mainly for me, the 3 that surprised me the most were Hawkeye, Ant-Man, and Scarlet Witch. And that's including Falcon, which I already talked about. But Hawkeye, I've never been a big fan of him. In the first Avengers, I thought he was a throwaway character. Spent half the movie brainwashed. Whatever. Avengers Age of Ultron, I think they spent too much time on him. They had the whole backstory with his family. I didn't really need to see that. Not my favorite character. But in this movie, he does what I think Hawkeye should do. He's a wisecracking, pretty badass archer who is a supporting character. And he has some standout scenes in this movie. He kind of comes out of retirement, I guess, to join this fight. And, every time he was on screen, I enjoyed him because they didn't spend too much time on him. Yet when he was on screen, he was a good guy and a standout. So I think this is how Hawkeye should be used. Not given too much time, but when he is on there, he stands out. Ant-Man, I wasn't the biggest fan of Ant-Man, the movie. I thought it was whatever, one of Marvel's weaker films. Still enjoyed it. I enjoy pretty much all the Marvel movies, but as far as Marvel movies go, Ant-Man wasn't one of my favorites. But in this movie, the big scene that I guess encompasses all the aspects of Civil War is the scene you see in the trailers, this airport scene where both sides come to their fight, and Ant-Man has a couple big scenes, and he stands out, and he's funny, just like he was in Ant-Man. He brings a subtle sense of charisma. When he's on screen, you just want more, especially in this. I think Ant-Man is a cool character. I don't know if I want to see another Ant-Man movie, even though we're getting one. I think he fits very well as a supporting Avenger, especially bouncing off Captain America like he does. And then finally, another character I wasn't too fond of before this movie was Scarlet Witch, who was, of course, introduced in Age of Ultron. Had a couple cool scenes in there, has something very bad happen to her in that movie. Not going to spoil it, I guess, if you haven't seen Ultron, but in this movie, she is pretty cool. I mean, they kind of made Scarlet Witch the most powerful character in this movie, I think. When you see how she does in that fight and throughout the whole course of the movie, she kicks some ass. And I didn't really think of her as that powerful, but the way they made her in this movie, I mean, you gotta respect her now. So that was cool to see. So as I was reading reviews of the film before seeing it for the first time, everyone was talking about this airport scene. I heard it being called the greatest comic book movie, superhero movie, fight scene ever, action scene ever. I've heard some people go as far to say it's just the greatest action scene ever in a film period, not just superhero film, any film. So I don't like hearing shit like that because that just heightens my expectations, and when I go out and see it, there's no way it's going to meet that, usually. And in this, I'm not going to go as far as to say it's the greatest action scene ever, certainly. And I'm not going to go as far as to say it's even the greatest comic book superhero action scene ever. But it's pretty awesome. And it's long. It's almost 20 minutes long of just straight action. And it's not action without substance because you care about these characters. You've been with these characters for years. And to see them fighting amongst each other kind of pulls at your heartstrings, at your emotion. It really does. It's not just visual diarrhea like the Transformers movies. You care about what's going on. You care about the people involved, and that just adds to the whole experience. Not to mention the fact it's fucking awesome. There's some fight scenes between characters we want to see. Black Panther's in there, Spider-Man's in there, Iron Man, War Machine, Falcon, Cap, Bucky, Vision, Scarlet Witch, Hawkeye. Did I forget anyone? Probably did. Now, no film is perfect, and this film is certainly no exception. There were some problems I had with the film, but certainly none big enough that took away from my enjoyment, certainly. One of the things I also read in a review before seeing it was something that kind of surprised me. I heard multiple people that I trust saying that some of the early CGI was bad. Not just questionable, it was bad. And you know what? I started to look for it. And, I think that might have been one of the things that contributed to me not feeling overwhelmed about the movie the first time I saw it, because the first time I saw it, I noticed it. In that first scene with all the Avengers in, I think, Africa, there's some scenes, there's some shots that look pretty bad. I'll say one in particular. It's nothing spoilery. but Falcon uses his little control pad and shoots a missile up into the sky, and it lands on some terrorist dudes and blows them up, and it looks bad. There's another shot in that same scene of like what I think would be pretty simple CGI or a visual shot. It's just like a tank, like an armored truck, just driving down a street fast, and it looked fake. I was like, what? And there were some other various shots throughout the film that I thought looked kind of weird. Like, I thought the Iron Man, like Tony Stark in his Iron Man suit, when just the headpiece comes off and he's wearing the full suit, but his head's showing, some of that looked questionable. It did kind of bother me the first time I saw it because I was looking for it. So then the second time I watched it yesterday, when I knew it was coming, I didn't really notice it at all, and it didn't bother me one bit. And I ended up enjoying the film a lot more. So I think if you go in looking for it, it might take you out a little bit, but once you know it's there, it doesn't really bother you. It didn't bother me, at least. Now, a big negative I'm hearing from a bunch of people is the villain. I guess if you can call him that. So Colonel Helmut Zemo, I think is his name, was the quote-unquote villain, I guess, of the film. And he didn't really do much. He wasn't in the movie a lot. He basically was just the string puller that, weave throughout everyone else's story arc to bring them all together at the end. Not a bad villain. He wasn't very intimidating by any means. I didn't feel like he was that evil, but he did his job. This movie was selling us on the Civil War. Captain America versus Iron Man. Whose team are you on? And they delivered. The central point of the movie was Captain America versus Iron Man, and the climax of the movie is still Captain America versus Iron Man. It's not, they don't team up. I guess this is kind of spoilery, but whatever. The end of the movie the climax of the movie is Captain America versus Iron Man. They don't team up to fight a bigger villain like they did in Batman v Superman. The end of the movie is Captain America versus Iron Man, and it kind of takes a little bit of balls to have that be your climax, your two heroes in the climax. And the villain, I guess you could say, was just pulling strings throughout the whole movie to make sure we got to that point, that we got to that end, Captain America versus Iron Man. And, Marvel's villains have never been a huge issue for me. In a couple of the films, yes, like Thor the Dark World, shitty villain. Ant-Man, Corey Stoll, who I love, shitty villain. Iron Man 2, shitty villain. So I give them a pass on the villain for this one because the whole time they wanted us to know it was going to be Cap versus Iron Man as the main theme of the movie, and that's what they gave us. We didn't need a villain, and we just needed someone to get us to that point, and that's what Zemo gave us. So whatever. This movie is a very critical tipping point in the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe. Where do they go from here? Leaves a lot of questions, but it had a lot of great moments, a lot of great character development, great action. Like I said, I had some problems with some of the CGI and digital effects, but nothing that was bad enough to where it took me out of the movie for too long. The villain was okay. He didn't hurt the movie, but he didn't really prop it up too much either. They promised us the Captain America versus Iron Man fight. They delivered on it. There's fantastic directing by the Russo brothers. They hit it out of the park once again. Obviously, they're going to be directing Infinity War 1 and 2, and after seeing this and previously seeing Winter Soldier, I'm glad that this franchise is in their hands. As far as where this movie sits in my favorite Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, it's too hard to say right now. I've only seen the movie twice. I got to see it at least one more time before I make a video detailing my top 5, or maybe I'll do top 10 Marvel movies. I will do that within the next week. As far as a score out of 10, I am going to give Captain America Civil War a 8.75 out of 10. I'm not going as high as a 9 yet. Once I see it again, I might bump that up to a 9. I'll be doing another video going into spoilers for Civil War. Probably won't be up today, maybe tomorrow, but 8.75 is where I'm at right now. Obviously, this is a huge blockbuster film. Lots of people went and saw it. Comment below what you thought of the movie. Did you like some of the things I liked? What did you think about the villain? What did you think about the CGI? Am I off on that? Let me know. Like always, people, follow me on social media, on Twitter, at Dominick Summa. I tweet a lot, tweet some funny stuff every now and then, tweet about movies, tweet about sports, tweet about life. So yeah, Twitter at Dominick Summa, Instagram at DomSum, Snapchat Dominick_Summa4. If you like this video, like it, go back, search the channel, like all the videos you like, subscribe to the channel, become a subscriber, be the first to know whenever we put up new content. Really helps me out a lot. I appreciate it. I think that's going to wrap it up for our Captain America Civil War review. Be on the lookout for our spoiler review coming in the next couple days, our top 5 Marvel movies in the next couple days. And yeah, until next time, I'll see you later.